Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Numerics with Nadia. In today's lesson, we're going to continue working through our beginner geometry playlist. And in this video, we're going to go over the area and the perimeter of irregular polygons. So in our lesson plan for today, first off, we're going to go through and we're going to analyze the similarities and differences between regular and irregular polygons. And then once we do that, like always, we will get into our practice section. So to start off, let's go through and differentiate between regular and irregular polygons. Also, before we get into that, if you have not watched the rest of the videos in the beginner geometry module, I would highly recommend watching those first. I will tag that playlist for you guys right here. And I would also highly recommend to watch the area and perimeter part 1 video, just so we're familiar with the terms of area and perimeter that we'll be using a lot in this lesson. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get back into the difference between regular and irregular polygons. A regular polygon, it has sides of equal length and angles of equal measure. So notice here for regular polygons, it's standard, it's equal, and I'll go through here and insert an example of what the visual would look like. So if we look at this example down below of regular polygons, the triangle, the pentagon, and the two other shape, all the sides are of equal length and all the interior angles look about equal as well. So now let's define what irregular polygons are. Now, irregular polygons are the opposite of regular polygons. So they have unequal sides and unequal angle measures. And I will pop up another visual for you guys to see. So if you see here, these polygons look irregular, right? They don't look standard. Their side lengths and their angles are not of equal measure, so those would be our irregular polygons. I would go through here and write down these two new vocab words into our notebooks, maybe add in a little visual as well, just so you can visually see the difference. And now that we've gone through all of this, let's get into our practice section for today. So the directions say to find the area and the perimeter of the irregular polygons below. And looking at our first example here, we see that this is kind of like an upside down L shape. And since it's not one of our standard polygons, this would qualify as an irregular polygon. Now I'm gonna write some steps here on the side to follow every single time you get a question like this. So the steps are, first, split up the irregular polygon into regular polygons. Then, since we're splitting the figure up, we want to go and make sure that we find and write down all the dimensions of the shape. And then our third step would be to calculate the area and perimeter. And depending on how many shapes you split it into, you would add all of those parts together. So here for number 1, I see that we can split this into 2, and we can split it into a top long rectangle and then a little shorter rectangle on the bottom. So the dimensions of the top rectangle are 18 centimeters by 4 centimeters, and the bottom rectangle is 8 centimeters for its base. But for the height, we kind of have to do some math here to figure that out. So if the height of the top figure was 4, and we know that full side length was 10 centimeters, then we know that the height of this bottom rectangle would be 6 centimeters. So we'll go through here and fill out all the dimensions for the shape, and now we'll go through and try to calculate the area and perimeter of each of these rectangles. So for rectangle 1, the area formula for rectangles would be base times height, and our base here is 18 centimeters and our height is 4 centimeters, so we'll do 18 times 4. When we do 18 times 4 out, we know 8 times 4 is 32, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So the area of rectangle 1 would be 72 centimeters squared. Remember, area units are always squared. Now we'll move on to the perimeter of that blue rectangle. For rectangle 1, the perimeter is just adding up all the sides, right? So we have 4 plus 18 plus 4 plus 18. We know 4 plus 18, well, that's just 22, so it would be 22 plus 22, and we know that 22 plus 22 gives us 44, so the perimeter for rectangle 1 would be 44 centimeters. Now, same thing for rectangle 2, area is base times height. Our base for rectangle 2 is 8 and our height is 6, so we'll do 8 times 6, and 8 times 6 is 48. So the area of rectangle 2 would be 48 centimeters squared. Again, perimeter is just adding up all the sides, so it would be 6 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8. And we know that 6 plus 8, well, that is 14, right? So we'd have 14 plus 14, and 14 plus 14, that gives us 28, and our units are centimeters. So now that we've solved for rectangle 1 and rectangle 2's area and perimeter separately, now we'll go through and add them together. So the area of rectangle 1 was 72. We'll add that to the area of rectangle 2, which was 48. 72 plus 48, well, that gives us 120. So the total area for this irregular polygon would be 120 centimeters squared. Now we'll do the same for perimeter. We will add the perimeter up for each of the rectangles. So the perimeter for rectangle 1, well, that was 44 centimeters, and the perimeter for rectangle 2, well, that was 28 centimeters. So we will add up 44 plus 28, and when we do 44 plus 28, we end up getting 72. So our total perimeter for our irregular polygon, which consists of both rectangles, that would be 72 centimeters. So our answers are 120 centimeters squared and 72 centimeters. All right, guys, I know these examples have a lot of parts and they take a long time, so we're just gonna do one more. This is our shape for number 2, kind of similar to the last one, but again, we need to split this up. So that's step 1. I've copy pasted the steps from the prior question here. You can feel free to write those in your notes as well, just as a guide of what to follow. So we're splitting our irregular polygon into 2 regular polygons. Our first rectangle, its dimensions are 7 by 6 inches. Our second one, the height is 19 inches, but what about the base? So we know that top portion of our shape, the whole thing was 12, and the other part of it was 6. So the part we're looking for, well, that would be 6 inches. So now I'm going to fill in all the other dimensions of our shape, and then we can get into our calculations. So for our first rectangle, we know that, well, area equals base times height, right? So our base here is 6 and our height is 7. So we will do 6 times 7, and we get 42 inches squared when we solve for our area for rectangle 1. Now we'll do our perimeter. Perimeter, again, is just adding up all the sides of our shape. Here we have 7 plus 6 plus 7 plus 6. That splits up into 13 plus 13, and we know that that gives us 26 inches. Now we'll move on to our second rectangle. Same steps here. Area equals base times height, right? So our base is 6 and our height is 19. I'll do 6 times 19 on this side here. When we do 6 times 19, we end up getting 114. So our area for rectangle 2 would be 114 inches squared. And now for perimeter for rectangle 2, again, it's just adding up all the sides. So we have 6 plus 19 plus 6 plus 19. That splits up into 25 plus 25. And we know that 25 plus 25, well, that just gives us 50. So our perimeter for rectangle 2 would be 50 inches. Now we have to do the same step as before. We have to do our total area. That's taking up the area from rectangle 1 plus the area of rectangle 2. So that would be 42 plus 114. When we do 42 plus 114, we end up getting 156. And again, since it's area, our units would be squared. So our total area for this irregular polygon would be 156 inches squared. Now we'll move on to our total perimeter. Again, all we have to do is add our perimeter from our first shape and our second shape. So the perimeter of rectangle 1 was 26 inches. The perimeter of rectangle 2 was 50 inches. So when we do 26 plus 50, we get 76 inches. So our total perimeter for this irregular polygon would be 76 inches. So that is it for practice problems for today. Feel free to pause the video here or rewind it if you need to review these 2 practice problems and get more familiar with the steps. But other than that, that is it for today's lesson. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like it if you did, comment any questions, or any additional problems you would like me to solve down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, share this video with a friend, and I will see you guys next time.